All right, so we're covering surface area of, I want to say like 8 shapes. Um, not all in this video. I'm gonna do 2 that are related so that you can like use the information from one to the other. So the important thing is that these are all formulas and you're just plugging in pieces. So for this one, the formula, so formula. So first thing is that the cylinder only has 2 parts. It has H, which is the height. So this is the height. And then R is radius, but radius is half of the line. So on this example over here, the blue line, it goes from edge to edge. It's a whole line that's called a diameter. So if the cylinder has the diameter, then it says to cut it in half or divide it by 2 to get the radius. So half of the diameter is the radius. So I'm either going to give you half of the line like this, which is the radius, and that's it, or I'm going to give you the whole line like this one and you have to divide it by 2. So the formula for this one, let me make sure I pull it up right. So it's 2 times pi times r times h plus 2 pi r squared. So for the worksheets, we're gonna leave pi as it is, but just a general rule, pi is usually represented with 3.14. And for your assignments, we're gonna keep it with pi for the 2 shapes that we're gonna do. So we're gonna keep the pi sign. R is radius, H is height. So you're literally just gonna take this formula and plug in the numbers that the cylinder gives you over and over, and that's it. So it's not anything too difficult. Just make sure you know the difference between radius and diameter. Again, diameter is the whole blue line. If I give you the whole blue line like I did here, just cut it in half or divide it by 2. So if I take this example, I'm just gonna copy and paste this shape. All right, so let's say the height is, let's do 10 inches, and the radius is 4 inches. So you're gonna take the formula and just change H and R for the numbers that go there. So we're doing 2 times pi times R. R is 4, which is our radius. And then we're gonna do times 10, which is H. So I'm just bringing down, I replaced those 2 parts, brought down those 2. Do the same thing with the other half of the formula, 2 pi, and then r squared. So for this one, r is 4, but we're doing 4 squared. So this is not the same as 4 times 2. It's not 4 times 2, it's 4 times 4. So if r is 3 and we have a squared, it's not 3 times 2, it's 3 times 3. So it's the same number times itself. 3 times 3, 5 times 5, 6 times 6, 7 times 7, not 4 times 2. So from here, you just process the information. So again, we're gonna keep the pi sign. So we're gonna do 2 times 4 times 10. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 10 is 80 pi. Keep the pi sign. So we're gonna bring down the pi sign. And then we're gonna do 2 times 4 times 4, because remember this represents 4 times 4. So for this one, we're doing 2 times 4 times 4. because 4 squared represents 4 times 4. So 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 4 is 32 pi. And then we add those two numbers. 80 plus 32. 112. You can use a calculator, but I just was counting. So 112 pi is your answer. And then you want to put inches for the units next to 10 and 4, and then squared. This is not the same as what we did up here. It's just something we put at the end of all of our answers for surface area. So that's literally all you're doing, and it's going to repeat over and over and over and over. So I'm going to change the numbers here, and you're going to see that it's the same thing over and over. I'm just replacing the numbers that I have here. So I'm going to take this and this out. So let's say my height is 12 and my radius is 3. So I'm gonna go back now into the equation that I just did and replace 4 and 10 and 4. So we're gonna basically undo those parts. So my height is 12. The radius is 3 for this one. Remember that for the first half, I'm copying this half. So 2 pi r h. And then for this half, 2 pi and then 3 squared, which is r. So we're doing 2 times 12 times 3. That is 24. 24 times 3 is 72. Keep the pi sign. And then here we do 2 times 3 times 3. Again, it's not 3 times 2. That's wrong. It's 3 times 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. And then we add up those numbers. So this is 90 pi, and then inches squared is always a part of our answer. And that's all you're doing. So again, you're just repeating the same things over and over. The only difference is if I give you a question with the diameter. So I'll do one like that. So let's say, I'm going to change the look of this just so that you can see that there are a couple of different ways that this question could look. So I'll give you, let's say, the radius at the top here, or the diameter, I should say. And then I'm going to give you the height out here. So that's the only difference, is that instead of like in here, I can give you the information on the outside. So my height is 9 inches, or let's do a different unit. Let's do yards. 9 yards. And my diameter is 12 yards. So the difference for this one is that I gave you the diameter. So going back up to the rule that I gave you here, if I give you the diameter, we're going to take the number and divide it by 2, and that gives us the radius. So my diameter here is 12. So r equals 12 divided by 2, because I gave you the whole line and I only need half of it. That's 6. So when I plug in r in my equation, I'm using 6, not 12. So our radius is 6. I think I was writing these backwards, but the answers are still the same. The height is 9. And then r squared is 6. 6 squared. I think for the other ones, I was writing height here and radius here. It doesn't change the answer. I just realized that I wrote R or H first and then R in my equation, but it doesn't change the answer. But this is RH, radius, height. Okay, so that's the only difference. So we're doing 2 times 6, that's 12, and then 12 times 9 is 108 pi, and then here we're doing 2 times 6 times 6. So 2 times 6 is 12, 12 times 6 is 72, and then we add those numbers. It would be 180 pi inches squared will be yards squared now, because we're using yards as a unit. So that's it for that. That's surface area for a cylinder. The only other difference for this in general is that we use pi, and that would just be us doing 180 times 3.14. But in the PACEs, they don't evaluate pi, they leave it as pi sign, so we don't have to worry about that. This would be the answer. That's the surface area of pi. I mean, surface area of a cylinder.